Hey everyone, welcome to the NCL Players Committee Challenge walkthrough. Thank you all for all of your participation this season in the individual game and the team game. Congratulations to you all. And we are super excited tonight to bring to you some of our Players Committee members. We have Paul, PressSpace2Hack, and we also have Garrett, who's LimeLava, and they're going to be walking through some of your favorite team challenges this evening. So if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat and the guys will answer them as we go through. All right, Paul, Garrett, you guys ready?
Sure.
As I can be.
Perfect.
All
and
right.
Paul, whenever you're ready, you can push the little present button on the bottom.
Let's see here. Will it let me share? So, which challenges do we want to do? What did people get stuck on? You can type it into the comments. Otherwise,
we'll just take a first one.
I wonder if it will let me share just a single window.
Crypto hard. It's our first request.
I don't want to share my password manager. Web app. Network hard. Crypto. Web app I can do. Do you have a preference, Garrett?
I got almost all of them, so I can do whatever ones. I figure, I don't know what ones you've gone back and done, but if you want to go through them, I feel like that'll provide since it'll be your first time going through some of them, it'll provide a better perspective for like someone who hasn't done the challenges. And then if you need some help or have questions, I can like sort of walk through them also, since I did them.
All right. Let's see. Let's do some cryptography, because I think I can do that fully from here. Will it let me share a single thing? Or is it going to make me close out of Discord? It's going to make me close out. Oh, wait. We can do this. We have the technology. All right. Is that coming through?
Yeah, looks good to me.
Sweet. All right. Ooh. So I took a little bit of a look at cryptography hard, and I was not entirely sure how to go about this one. So I'm going to plug it into CyberChef. And we can take a look at this. So hopefully this comes through. There were a few things that I noticed about this text. Did you attempt this one at all?
I did try, but I didn't get anywhere near what the actual solution was, which I read through the methodologies channel on this one. So I do know how to do it now.
I read through the methodologies one, and I fell into the same trap that a bunch of people did. At first, this looks a lot like Enigma. But there are a few odd things. There are a lot of repeating letters. No, I don't want experimental AI. There are these repeating sequences that just seem kind of random. But I know a bunch of people looked at this and were like, oh, Enigma, all uppercase, no spaces. I don't think that's it. So I tried running a bomb attack on it. Bomb. And I figured for our crib, right, we've probably got sky in here since flags usually begin with sky, right? And I forget where the offset was, but if you count from the end, right, it's 4 numbers, and Enigma can't do numbers. So I wasn't quite sure how to deal with that. 4 numbers, 4 letters, and then sky. And so we have at offset 115. So when we're cracking legacy Enigma messages, we can enter in some text that we know appears in the plain text message and where it appears. And it will make an attempt, but it's not going to work. This crib, the known plain text, really isn't long enough to do a traditional bomb attack. For anyone who's interested in this, there's a whole history behind World War II. Alan Turing's team was able to come up with an attack to decrypt messages from the Nazis. So the computer that did the cracking was called Bomb or Bomba. I'm not quite sure of the pronunciation. And Enigma was the actual encryption machine. But it relies on you knowing some of the plain text or being able to guess it. And that just didn't work. And it makes sense. I've never seen so much repetition. So then, unfortunately, CyberChef doesn't have a good cryptanalysis tool. You can kind of do frequency distribution. And you get this, which is not particularly useful. Oh, you can scroll down, actually. Oh, here we go. So we've got R, V, H, F, D, but they're all adjacent to each other, which is really weird. So then I figured, well, maybe it's some sort of modal cryptography whereby each letter is dependent on the previous, but somehow we need digits in here because the flag usually has digits and we don't have any spaces. It's very odd. And I'm not sure I would have ever gotten this unless I stumbled on it by chance. But reading over the methodologies, we can actually we can sort all of these by how often they appear. Let's see if it'll let us do that. I don't think it will.
You can just use CyberChef sort also.
What was that?
You can just use the sort method in CyberChef.
Does that work? I don't know if it'll work on table character.
Not the output table, but you could just get rid of that frequency distribution and sort the input directly.
Oh, I broke it. That's a good idea. Like so. I wonder if there's anything we can do to... So we have 5 A's, 3 B's. Oh, it's going to include that. But yeah, some appear a lot more than others. I don't know of any way to do this with CyberChef specifically.
Yeah, I'm not so sure you can do it all within CyberChef, but the initial part here where you sort and then you can count, you would have to do the counting manually unless there's a CyberChef tool that I don't know of. But
I could probably do it with Google Sheets, but let's see if I... Will this let me switch? Has anyone mentioned? Yeah, other people are also mentioning the repeat letters were very strange. That was sort of the giveaway that you needed to do some sort of cryptanalysis. There was something odd going on. You should never see that in a properly encrypted output. There was too much of a pattern to it. I am going to cheat and just... There we go. I could do this with a regular expression, but I only have to press enter 25 times here. So
It's easier than coming up with regex.
all right, and we have 5, 3, 4, 11, 5.
I've seen a couple people mention forensics medium. That was certainly an interesting one. While he's counting these out, I could sort of talk about it.
Switch screens.
Yeah, let me get up what I need to share to do that one. It's actually not. It's fairly straightforward if you know the principle behind it. Let me get that.
All right. I'm at the point where we can start looking at this a little more. So if I saw this text here, which I never wrote it down in this format, but if I saw this, I probably would have had some sort of idea as to what was going on. Because in ASCII, generally, most of your English text, your letters, are going to be, I think, in the 40 to 60 range in hexadecimal. And so anytime you're doing any sort of decoding, cryptography, whatever it may be, even just looking for strings in a hex dump, you're always sort of looking for anything in the 40 to 60 range. 40 to 70, I think, really. And so we've got 53, 41, 15. That can't be right. 53 is interesting. 53. Maybe 40, but then 11 doesn't make sense.
You need to go 11 and 11 in hex is, you have to convert it when it goes over 10. You have to convert it to hex.
Oh. What?
So each of these will be individual, but in instances where it goes over 10 in a single one, you have to convert it to hex.
CyberChef supports that. Ah, that was so close. Let me.
So you'd have 5, 3, 4, B, 5, 2, D, 4, 6, 5, 2, 4.
All right. So, okay. So first we convert it to hex. All right. I never would have gotten this. I don't know how we were supposed to come up with that. That was luck.
That's probably the hardest step, is figuring out what to do now.
Jeez. I don't think that's gonna work correctly now. 2 hex. Oh, it's not gonna let me do it. 2 hex content from hex content. All right. B.
D.
C, D. D. We're just converting all of this to hex.
Yeah.
Four B 59. Okay, this is all printable ASCII. What's 2D? I think that's a hyphen. This is just going to be a flag. S, K,
Yeah.
Y. 2D is a hyphen. Okay.
You start to recognize, after you
Yeah.
do it so enough times, you'll start to recognize the flags in hex. So
Yeah. Sky frequency 1938. I honestly don't know how I would have gone about that. I could tell that there was some weirdness going on. But I don't know how I would have eventually stumbled upon the idea to concatenate all of the frequencies. Like 53 is interesting. That's an S. Like you said, you sort of begin to recognize that in hexadecimal. Or any, alphabet characters. But I'm not sure. I think we should go to the next one. So which was the forensics one that you wanted to do?
forensics medium, some people were saying, was tricky.
All right. Well, you did this one. Do you want to walk me through it?
Yeah, we can walk through that. Or wait, was it forensics medium? Which I thought they were talking about the Word one. Yeah, the documents.zip.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, geez. I don't have any idea what I have for tools on this computer. Give me a sec.
You shouldn't need any tools to do this one.
I don't even have Microsoft Word. Do you want to do this?
You won't need Word. I don't have Word either.
Let's see. We'll extract it. Ooh, actually, I do have Word. All right. Let's see. All right. Do you want to walk me through it? I've downloaded the zip folder.
All right. So yeah, we don't see that on your screen, by the way. We only see.
Yeah, I have to
Chrome.
switch. Present. Oh, it's going to make me stop. Share screen. Window. All right.
So if you just open one of these up, you'll see that there's not really anything here. Oh, we can't see that. I can just tell people what they would see. If you don't want to, because it's going to open a new document and you're going to have to change your share document if you don't want to share your
it just
whole
says
screen.
this is part 1, etc.
Yeah, so in the document, you'll just see a Word document that says this is part 1. That's all it says. And then each subsequent document will say this is part 1, this is part 2, this is part 3, and there's no other information in them.
Mm-hmm.
So the main principle here that you have to know, which is sort of consistent with mediums, that there's just something you have to know, is that these docx files or any Office document that's an X type is actually just a zip file. It's just a zipped up bunch of different XML files. So what you need to do is look at these documents, these docx files, as if they were a zip file. So open them with something like 7-zip, WinRAR, any sort of archive viewer, and you can see each piece of the Word document in this case. But this applies to all Office documents.
All right, we might end up with some inception due to the screen sharing, but we'll give it a try.
So we open this Office document, we see actually there's more stuff inside of it. So there's a couple different folders here. This first one, just called Word. It has the largest. So we could start with that. It probably has the most information. And we don't need to go through all these other ones. There's just various things that define how your document is supposed to look. But we'll see that one of those there is significantly larger than the rest of them. There we go. So we can go ahead and open that because that's sort of odd. Everything else is much bigger. And we see that doesn't really look right. More that because most people don't know what it's supposed to look like. But it does. It's less that it doesn't look right, more that there's a lot of just hex data in here. And so maybe this is something. So we can go ahead and copy this out and paste it into our good friend CyberChef.
W content.
And see what it gives us for just this first part.
Ooh, a PNG.
So you can just, we see that it has the PNG header. So this is an image. At CyberChef conveniently will automatically process it for us. If you just press on the magic wand. And we see that it's an image, or what looks like the top part of an image.
There's an issue.
So we can go get, this is maybe the top third of an image, we'll say. And so
I wonder.
What you got to do is go through each of these Word documents and pull out this data that's inside the Word document that you could not see if you just open the document because it wouldn't show correctly. So you unzip the document, go into what's really inside of a Word document, and pull that data out. And we'll just paste it one after another in CyberChef because it's very nice at processing images from raw data.
Cat meme.
And in true NCL style, this is a flag inside of a meme.
We could have just done the last one. Huh?
It probably, yeah. If we didn't do the first one, it might have messed up the header. Because there was actually a challenge about that one year where part of a JPEG image or an image was messed up, so you had to fix the header of it. They've done that several times before. So yeah, that's all you have to do for this. But the main idea is that where Office documents are just zipped up. It's just a bunch of other files zipped together and rendered with Office or any other word processor. So that's what you need to know for that. It's sort of a medium trope, in my opinion, that medium challenges are often not that difficult. I shouldn't say that. I should say that often there is just a specific piece of knowledge you need to know for mediums. And if you do know that, they're pretty easy. But I guess you could apply this to all of them. If you know how to do it, they're easy. Who would have guessed?
So Tristan pointed out that we could use unzip from the command line. And that is what I would normally do if I had Linux on here. Yes, I'm accustomed to doing NCL on Linux, and I don't believe I have WSL on here. This is my gaming computer. Ooh, I might actually, but it is definitely very out of date if I do have it. It's there.
Okay, let's scroll back and see what people have requested. Somebody requested IR from network traffic. Let's see what has the most thumbs ups. That has 1. 2 people wanted web app easy. I guess several people wanted it. 3. They said web app easier. Easy was harder than a web app medium and hard.
I do want to address something that Faith Rimmer said about the first one. Wait, I'm a little confused. How did you know that some of the text needed to be fixed to hex? Well, if I simply concatenated all of the digits, we got numbers that were not within range of printable ASCII. We got control characters. And so that didn't work. I didn't know that converting it to hex was what I needed to do, but I knew that what I was doing didn't work. Hopefully that partially answers your question. Anyway, what were you saying about the next challenge?
It seems that a lot of people want the easy web app challenge,
Okay.
which is...
I haven't done that yet.
You
do
answered part of it.
Did I?
You got the first question.
I didn't finish it.
Okay, that's good because I'll be interested to see how you got the first one. Because I'll just go ahead and say that I got all the answers for this one by just clicking through. I just used a macro on my mouse and clicked through all the pages until I got the flag and the rest of the information. So
I made a script that I don't have with me anymore. So we may have to play around with this from the command line. But let's see, we could also probably do it in JavaScript. I'm going to share my screen again. Let's see if we can do it in JavaScript. Yes. We're going to share that one. Okay. Web app. Jojo Mart. All right.
wait, I'm thinking of records. Never mind.
Yeah, records was the one that...
Never mind. That's the one I clicked through.
Yeah.
I've been talking about the wrong one this whole time.
So let's read what we have here. Jojo Mart is hiding the pricing for their in-store deals. Can you find their prices? Note, your scope is limited to HTTPS. You may use automated tools that make educated guesses for this challenge, but blind automated brute force is not permitted. Typically, that means you're not going to benefit from a whole lot of automation. All right, what is the URI path to the endpoint used for searches? I'm assuming the people asking about this at least figured out that much. We can inspect this. And let's dock this to the bottom.
Real quick, I'll answer Ashley's question in chat, which is what was my favorite challenge. That was my favorite challenge was definitely paper, which is the hard one on scanning, and that's because the theory of that one is very much real world. It's anonymous it's anonymous LDAP binding, and you'll see that that's something you always check for when you're doing pen tests or red teams or any other real world scenario. That's something you shouldn't see it because it's a bad configuration, but you will see it, and it's something you should always look for. So that was a very real world challenge, and I love it when NCL has those. Everything we do in NCL is at least tangentially related to a real world scenario. But when there's a challenge like that, that's exactly what you would see in a real life. It's always, I love that. So that was my favorite one for sure.
So URI path is a little ambiguous, but we can safely assume it's, if we call this the origin, it's the part after the origin but before the query string. So /search would be the most intuitive answer there. We're making GET requests to search. Q equals whatever we're searching for. If we enter in some gibberish, we get no results. Let's enter in a common character and see what we get. Okay, so it's just finding us anything with an S in it. Is it searching both fields? We're just trying to figure out how this works right now. Let's do, we don't have a P on the right-hand side, but we do on the left-hand side. Each. All right. So there you go. Seems to be searching the name. This is probably SQL. And in SQL, we usually have queries that look something like this. Where foo would be what I searched for. Now, this is a little naive and has several issues. The biggest of which is I can just search for nothing and then we get like wildcard. So like anything. In SQL, with a like operand, operator, percent signs act as wildcards. So if I just search for nothing, oh, we're not going to get anything, are we? All right, well, what if I manually enter that in? That'll do it. All right. So now our query is effectively this. And we have, let's just say it's probably name and type. So we're going to try some SQL injection. And what are our questions here? Well, we don't currently have the price column, but let's see if we can get it in here. So we have two columns. Let's try and make our query. Well, first of all, we need to figure out what type of quotes we're using. So traditionally in SQL, it should be single quotes for a string. Double quotes actually mean an identifier, but a lot of SQL dialects will allow you to use double quotes even though it's technically not correct. So let's see if I can get an error message here. If I enter a single quote, no errors. Ooh, look, there's even an error field there. Double quote, I get an error message, and I find out it's SQLite. All right, great. We need to figure out the table name. Now, most SQL engines have a dedicated database or table that contains information about all the other tables in the database. And I believe SQLite uses something called SQLite Master. Does that sound right? The schema table. SQLite Master. So we have type, name. We're looking for a table. Let's see what tables we have. So I want to change it. We now know that this is like that. I want to change this query to include, we want to filter out everything. That will filter out everything from the first part of the query, because that's always false. I think I could actually just do 0. And then I'm going to add to the result set, select type name from SQLite master, where type equals table. Now, I'm stuck with this text at the end of the query because I can't control this part and I can't control this part. This part right here I can't control, and then I can't control the end. Anything I enter is going to be in between here. So I'm going to try and just name like that. So I'm going to copy this part and stick that in there. Now I have to have the same number of columns on both sides of the union. Otherwise it will give me an error. Ooh, products, type, table. If I omit one of the columns, I have the wrong number, I'm going to get an error message. Or I'm not going to get an error message. Because I didn't change it here. There we go. So I need exactly 2 columns on both sides. So remember, this is the part that's defined by the program, and whatever I'm entering in this field is getting inserted right here. Yes, yes, yes. So we now know that the name of the table is products. Now we need to figure out the column names. We can probably guess that it's price. What was it? Starfruit? We'll just do star. So this is the part that we can control. No such luck. No such column, price. So even though they wrote price here, that's not the column name. Our guess failed. So now we have to figure out all the column names. What do we have here? SQLite schema. Type. But we want to know how to find columns, column names. There's no entry for the SQLite schema table itself. Table name. I guess SQL will probably have how the table was created. Let's try it. Whoop. So before we had tried There we go. We have a name column, a type column, and a cost column. That's where we went wrong. Let's try changing that to cost. And we'll take this and insert it and search, and that's in the cost column. Out of curiosity, what do all the other things say? Can we get some more secret flags? Maybe some memes? No. Just a $5 lucky lunch. All right. Let's check to see what we have for feedback. All right. So let's see. We had to research SQL injection format on this. It's important to note that there's no SQL injection format. You have to guess roughly what the query is, and that's going to vary from application to application. And you have to guess how it's inserting what you enter into the query and try to come up with something you can enter that changes that query in a way the programmer didn't intend. And in SQL, the protection against this are something called prepared statements. Ideally, you don't want to ever be concatenating dirty input, that's user inputted data, with actual SQL statements. If you're doing that in your code, it's probably vulnerable. You want to avoid that. But we can guess that that's what's happening here because when I start entering quotes, things break. Now, this is a pretty well-known exploit. Most programmers who are working with SQL will hopefully know that they should be using prepared statements. And when you use prepared statements, you end up writing code that looks instead like that. And this doesn't get replaced in the code. I then pass the input as a separate parameter. And so this is no longer susceptible to that type of attack. I can still stick wildcards in weird places and try to cause issues that way, but I'm never going to be able to pull a completely different column than the one that the programmer intended. And we can do some more interesting things too. Perhaps we can do, so we know that this is what the programmer has. On their end, it probably looks something like query equals plus input plus that. If we assume it's JavaScript or something like that. And so my input is getting inserted here. So I could change my input to be don't actually do this in a competition. Out of curiosity.
Yeah, I wonder if they prevent this.
I'm very curious. I don't think they do. I think if you screw up your own database, that's on you. Oh. It's gone. Now I broke the whole application because I dropped all the data. Ha! Did I? Oh, it didn't work. It was worth a shot. Well, but you can input other commands in there, theoretically. A lot of modern applications hopefully won't be susceptible to this, but every now and then it happens. Something to be aware of, especially if you're on the programming side. What was input prior to finding out that you had to put cost as an input? So initially I just guessed the column name, which was price. I couldn't really guess the table name. I had to go to the SQLite master table for that. and figure out what tables existed. But for the column, I made an educated guess of price. It didn't work. And instead, I went back to the SQLite master table again, pulled out the SQL that was used to create the table, which has the column definitions.
If you didn't want to do that, I'd say cost is probably the next best guess, but it's good to know how to actually do it.
I'm not going to keep guessing. All right, what else do we have?
A lot of people really want EE hard, but that's a quite difficult challenge. And I don't know how to do it, and we probably don't have time to go over such a hard challenge.
Well, let's take a look at it and see what we have. So I'm going to share my screen here. One moment. How much time do we have? Not too much time.
I would actually recommend as an alternative, because something we can actually like show people in the amount of time we have that they're also asking for is the IR challenge, which I will be on. You all can yell at me because I wrote it. So if you need assistance, I am here.
I usually like your challenges, so there probably won't be much yelling.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people want to see IR, so we can do that as well.
This
wasn't that hard because, well, I think when I originally did it back in 2021, it was hard.
It's in a network.
Yeah, but this was basically a repeat, so I just remembered how to do it.
That's cheating. IR.
It is
kickback.
Yeah, the last one, I mean.
Ooh, IR.out. What protocol was used?
You'll
Our
probably
analysts
remember
have
this
obtained a raw data capture of IR traffic that we know came from an interaction with an LG TV. Analyze the data and see what you can find. All right, so back in the day, when I was in middle school, like 20 years ago at this point, one of the first things I programmed was a microcontroller that went on a little robot that could drive around and turn off people's TVs. So let's see if we can figure it out. Heck if I know what the protocol is. What device ID is? The sub ID? How many times was the power button hit? How many times was the up button hit? How many malformed packets are in the capture? This sounds a lot more complicated than the stuff that I was using. All right. Will this open in Wireshark? Oh, remind me later.
I will tell you, it will not open in Wireshark. That is intentional, because for the hard things, we generally like to force people to have to actually try and script something up.
All right, give me a moment. Let me see if my 010 editor license is expired. Oh no. Well, I don't have a scripting environment on here. Like, I don't have anything any programming tools on here really. So
you
unfortunately,
don't need that. You can do it in CyberChef.
I can? Okay.
Yep.
Let's do that.
Yeah, you could do it in any hex editor, but I mean, CyberChef will do. You know.
Are we not going to? Come on, there we go. Ooh, funky. Okay, so when you see that character, I'm going to show you what that translates to. That is FF. If you're, I think it's the legacy Windows Latin encoding, where FF turns into Y with an umlaut or whatever the heck it is. So just something to keep an eye out for. We have a lot of 04FF, 03FC, 04FF. 04FF. Interesting. All right. I'm going to delete this one and just do 2 hex.
I would recommend expanding the width until the FS line up. It'll make it easier to read. So you get like nice columns, because see how it's a little slanted right now?
Garrett, do you have any like hex editor tools on your machine? Because it might actually be easier to like.
I found this way easier to do in CyberChef.
Okay.
I have Notepad++, and that has a hex editor, but it shows up not in the columns. The columns, if you can make the columns line up, this challenge is a cakewalk.
Let's do 2 hex up. Yeah, I can see that there's some alignment going on here.
Let me see if I can get it to line up in my CyberChef, and then I can just share my screen if I can get that to work. Because that's how I did it.
There we go. I've got it.
There we go. Okay, now it's nice and lined up.
Yeah. 391910. I want to Google 04FF. Infrared. Oh, we get some shoes. How do you think this was captured? Let's see what else we have here for hints.
That'd be
Device
interesting.
idea.
Now, I don't how did you capture this, or did you just come up with it, write it yourself?
So generally with stuff like this, it is a lot easier to write it as a generator, because at least until recently, there wasn't like all that great like tooling for like capturing IR and dumping it out into like obvious packets. You had like basically for anyone that does like hardware hacking, there was like a lot of like logic analyzer type stuff where you could like just capture it, and then you had to like try and carve out in a given point of time the sequence.
NEC.
So the first question here is, what's the protocol? And after some research about LG TV infrared remotes and protocols and things like that, you'll come across one called NEC. So that's a pretty good guess, because you'll find that, like on the LG manual.
Right.
So that's what you can go with, and that is the protocol name that it asks about.
Got a logical 1, logical 0. So I'm assuming that this is after the modulation has been decoded, because we now have hexadecimal. So this appears to be sort of physical layer, how we encode zeros and ones. We're not as worried about that. Can we get the actual codes?
I will. This makes for less interesting things, but go to IRDB. It is a GitHub page. The big thing that people like really struggled with this one is LG is a big company, and they make a lot of different like devices. So like trying to find just documentation for an LG TV can be pretty tricky. It's the repo is just called IRDB.
Yeah, but we half the challenge here is figuring out how to find that database, right? Ooh.
I mean,
Ooh. Okay. Wait. Where's our 03FC0A? All right, it always ends with 0A.
I'll just tell you that doesn't matter. It's only for the middle two there.
Yeah.
So you could sort of look at it beyond me telling you that those don't matter. You could sort of look at it and see that something is just consistently happening, sort of like the FF and the 04. The 0A just happens on every line, and so it probably doesn't have much to do with different button presses, because even if the 0A was in every button press, that doesn't help you differentiate any of them. So you can just sort of ignore it for the middle ones, which do change.
Right. And you can see that happening in the actual NEC protocol here.
So the zero, someone in the chat just pointed it out. 0A is just its new line terminator.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Which, makes sense. That's how they're delimited in here. Although it shouldn't. I don't know if the protocol would actually require that.
It's not required by the protocol. It's just for.
Yeah.
It's for the player's sanity.
Got it. Yeah, so we can ignore that. We have the 00FF. We have 04FF, but close enough. 4 might be the length. No, it doesn't. No, because we're
so if we go back and we look at the questions, the second question after what's the protocol, we figure out is NEC. The first one is, what is the device ID of the device being captured?
Yeah.
And so we have 2 that are consistent across the whole thing. So we can guess that those 2 must be part of this device ID because it happens every time. So that's the remote. And that remote, that identifies that remote is doing that command. So we look at those. And the first question is, what's the device ID? And the second one is, what's the sub ID? So, a sub ID would probably come after a device ID.
Right. I would guess that the device ID is 4 because that differs from what I'm seeing here in the actual protocol. And then I would guess that the sub ID is.
Do you still have the NEC I say spec loosely because
Yeah. It's like a reverse engineering of it or something.
Yeah. So this is specifically extended NEC. So you have address low, address high, and it ends up being depending on where you look, because this is not a standardized thing. Fun fact, it's very poorly documented, but you have address low, address high that you can see there. And then sometimes, depending on the product, you get a command and then a basically like a CRC.
Ooh.
Every manufacturer does it a little bit different.
Yeah. And oftentimes there are slight variations between devices so that most of the buttons on the remote will work if you have the wrong thing, but then some won't work. But in any case, we know we're looking for the power button and the up button. So let's see what we have here. On off, that seems. Do we have a 0CF3? Just out of curiosity. 0CF3. We do not. That's the wrong one then. All right. We're running out of time, so let's go to IRDB. This one?
Yes.
Fancy.
This was before Flipper. The Flipper was a thing. This was the best open repository of devices. Just search for LG. You might not even have to use NEC. Yeah, you can just then they have a TV directory. Well, 1.1 is completely useless.
Protocol NEC1 device 4. Okay. And FF in a signed 8-bit number 2's complement is -1. Because if you add 1 to FF and you overflow, you get 0. -1 plus 1 is 0. So this makes sense now because we start off with 04 FF. So this confirms that the sub ID is probably -1, which we wouldn't have known that had we not found this. We probably would have entered FF, which
is that
is
it
not,
takes. I don't know if it takes -1, but it also takes FF.
It does?
Yeah.
It should be -1.
That's I put in FF. So
I don't know.
I do have a complaint to raise, Tristan. Though I don't know if I don't know if you made the original IR challenge from fall 2021.
I made both.
But in fall 2021, the ID question was accepted. Actually, maybe it didn't break it down. Let me go check this before I complain. But I put in 04 FF in fall 2021, and that was accepted as my answer. But this time it was not accepted. Let's see.
Huh.
So I sort of cheesed it because I just looked back at my old challenge and just put that in as the answer. Okay.
So I want to know how all of those are technically the same button. It's just labeled differently depending on the device. Oh, geez. Okay.
Okay,
0
never mind.
is going to be 00. We only have 1 byte to work with here. Hold on.
Back in fall 2021, I put 0A04, and that was accepted. And then this year, I put 0A04, and that was not accepted.
Oh.
So I got one wrong because of that. But we could.
Okay.
It's not the end of the world. I only probably got it wrong because I tried to cheese it by looking back at my old answer. So I probably deserve it.
Important revelation here. This is showing the function codes as only being 1 byte. It goes up to 255, which is FF and hex. But if you look at this column and then you look at this column, it's just inverted. This is the not of that. So that's that CRC thing. Like this is FF minus 01. Or alternatively, it's probably XOR. I don't know. But in any case, this is the only column that matters here. For this question, at least. Probably, because we also
The
have
other
how
column
many
will matter when
malformed...
we get to the malformed byte.
Yeah.
But for now, the middle column is all that matters.
Now, so here's the thing. If it's malformed and we want to figure out whether it's an up button, do we use this column or this column? That seems important.
The malformed byte is not going to affect. So here's how I went about it. Is if you go back to that database, I wouldn't sort it or anything. I might mess it up. If you go back to that IR database.
I want to see if I can sort it by length. Yeah, I can. Yeah, it's
and you look for power. The number, it's just 4. So you can just look for if you go up to the first instance of power.
It's 8.
Okay, never mind. It's 8. Yeah. If you just look for all the 8s in that middle column, that'll be all the instances of the power button. And
yeah,
that
but we
same
don't
thing
know
applies
that for
all
certain at this point.
Huh?
We do because I told you. And we've got limited time.
Impatient.
And I'm pretty sure this is how I did it back in fall 2021. I just looked at that and then looked over. And that just happens. That lines up. So I don't think I'm really cheesing this. I'm pretty sure this is how I did it when I originally did it.
I love this challenge, but like it upset a decent amount of people because NEC is an unstandard dumpster fire of a protocol.
All right, here we go. So we're looking for 8. We have. Go away. 254. Oh, is it not going to tell me how many lines that is? Darn it. How many lines is that? Well, we would count the number of lines, but we're running out of time. So that would be the number for the power button. Up
there's 48.
Up was 1. Oh, but these are malformed.
But they still count.
But we don't know that. They're invalid. They might.
You're not looking at them.
Have been a different button.
Both answers were accepted because
Sweet. Now, what if half of them were the right button?
So what now?
So like, what if this was up? What if this was the correct code and this was incorrect? But here, this was the correct code and this was incorrect. Right? Because they're complements.
I went about counting them based off that middle column. Yeah. So
I think that's reasonable here.
I think that's what most people would have done. They would have seen the number 4 or the number 1 is the up button and counted all the lines that had 1.
That's a cool challenge, though. Also, if you want to do something fun, messing with infrared, it's a lot of fun. And just about everything supports it.
Messing with consumer electric stuff in general can recommend.
I have broken a lot of things.
And so to get the malformed bytes then, for that last question, if no one's still wondering, you just look. So we look at this 0, 1, and we see that all of them are ended in FE. We just count every time that the number, that the regular number, doesn't line up with what it's supposed to be on its complement, and every time that the complement doesn't line up, that's a malformed byte. So you just count how many times that happens, which is 7, which I got wrong several times and ruined my 100% accuracy. So that was traumatic. Yeah. But that's how you do. That's how you get how many malformed bytes you have.
Yeah. Nice. All right. So let's check chat. And we're going to stop sharing. So yeah, hopefully that made sense, Brendan, with finding the malformed bytes. It was the inverse of the code. It was the complement. So I think it was XOR. But CyberChef has a unique. Yeah, you could have done that. That would have worked too. At least to find the malformed ones quickly, and then you could have duplicate malformed ones though, so you'd have to double check. But
I missed the single instance in which at some point they press 04. I don't know what button that is. Basically 04 gets input, it gets used, and there's only one instance of it, so that I didn't realize the second half was malformed, because I wasn't using this fancy inverted byte thing. I was just looking at it and seeing which ones matched up.
Yeah.
So I didn't recognize that wasn't correctly matching. and so I got it wrong because of that.
I like to do my best to try and figure out the significance of each component before I start answering stuff, even if I'm pretty sure it's correct. I try, if I have time, to reverse engineer the whole thing. Yep.
And that is probably the best way to go about it, but sometimes you want to go fast.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Paul, Garrett, how are you feeling about the session?
Good.
Great. I think
I'm kind of mad that I didn't have my Linux tools on here.
If anyone wants to, I guess this isn't helpful to anyone watching the VOD later, but if there's anyone who's in the Discord that wants to talk about more of the challenges, I will hop in the Discord after this and talk about more of them, if anyone would like. So I'll just put that out there.
And there's the methodologies chat on Discord as well, where everyone can discuss. And there are some good tips in there.
And remember, no posting answers in there. Only methodologies. So thank you to the Players Committee, Garrett, Paul. We really appreciate you guys going over a lot of these challenges from the team game. And Tristan from the Cyber Skyline team, thank you so much for being here with us tonight so you could shed a little light on, some of the challenges, and Garrett could air out some grievances with you for previous challenges.
Open a support ticket.
Yeah, open a support ticket. Tristan will be there. He'll help you.
Please don't.
I want my points back. Yeah.
Please don't.
You can just do it now. It's a verbal support ticket.
And just so you all are aware, we do have an incredible week of events lined up for our NCL Spirit Week. And tomorrow we have the CrowdStrike Spring webinar. We have on Thursday, Job Hunt Like a Hacker with Jason Blanchard. And of course, the awards ceremony and Q&A with the engineers on Friday night. I did post a link in the chat to the Spirit Week flyer. You can go ahead and take a look at that and register for any of those events. Guys, do you have any parting words for all the people in here?
Hopefully we see you all next semester.
You should get an NCL Cyber Skyline hoodie. They're great.
You should sign up for Pro and practice over the summer.
Are they still the same hoodies? Because that hoodie has lasted me forever.
Which one?
I have two, and they've both lasted.
I think that they're the I don't think we've changed. I'm not the person to ask, but mine has also I have both an NCL one and a Cyber Skyline one. This is not an ad of whoever we go through.
I don't get paid for this.
Yeah, I don't get paid to
I don't think we have any hoodies on the NCL swag shop right now, but we do have the long sleeve hooded shirt. Actually, that's what I have on tonight, and it's very comfortable and it'll last you forever. I swear it. All right, guys. Well, this is really fun. Garrett will continue to be in Discord if you have additional questions. Thank you for joining us, and we can't wait to see you at the other Spirit Week events this week. Bye.